Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Gunsmith 4. We have to build an OP SKS with a suppressor and an optic. I'm going to show you 3 different ways to do this one because one of the parts can be quite tricky, but let's get into the first one right now, which is starting with the Mechanic 1 barter for a regular SKS. Once you've bought this, you then need to go and buy an SKS from Jaeger as well, and this doesn't actually come with the dovetail mount to begin with, which is the painful part. You're going to have to either buy this from the flea market for a huge cost or wait for the reset and try to snipe this, but there's lots of people trying to buy it at the same time, which is why I've got some other variants. But let's just assume for now that you do manage to get this somehow, maybe off a scav or something. So we're going to take this part and use it. The first thing you need to do is take the OP SKS and strip it down entirely. So take all of the parts off completely so that we're down to the red base. Then we're going to go onto the regular SKS, the non-OP version, and take all of those parts from the TAPCO one and put them on our OP SKS, right? So this now is completable for the quest. We take the OP SKS dovetail mount and stick this on. At this point, there's a couple of things that we need to do. So we're going to go into the edit preset. We need to add an optic scope. The one that we're going to choose is the USP1 Tulpan, which comes from Prapor. Put that on, and then also put on the USP cup as well. This will allow you to have enough ergonomics. At this point, we need to put on a suppressor. There are 2 available, the Hexagon SKS, or if you use the weapons tuning thread adapter, you can also use the DTK4M. It makes no difference which one you use, but sometimes one is cheaper than the other. At the moment, the DTK is 48k and the Hexagon is 34k. So at this point, I would just go and use the Hexagon. So we're going to stick that on. Now, bizarrely, this build actually won't work, and you might be surprised as to why, but hidden within the quest requirements, which it doesn't actually say, is it needs to be less than 6 kilos. The way that you could do this is you could take off the rear sight, and you can also take off this thing here, the railed gas tube cover, which is the reason why we had lots of extra ergo from the iCup. So if we take this off, we're still in the ergo limit and we're just under the 6 kilos. Make sure there are no bullets in the magazine and you should be able to hand in this version of the gun. If you just cannot buy the dovetail, if this thing is just sold out and you can't even buy it even if you camp the reset, then there is an alternative, but you'll need to have Jaeger 2 to make this one work. You do exactly the same thing as before. You do the SKS barter, the regular one from Mechanic. You then buy an OP SKS from Jaeger. We strip down the parts on the SKS down to nothing, and we replace the parts on the normal SKS onto the OP SKS. Then we buy the choked mount. This is the one from Jaeger 2. If you don't have Jaeger 2, you won't be able to buy this, but this is an alternative if you can push through. Connect that to the OP SKS. Onto this, we can then add the UTG 25mm rings, and in those goes the Pilad 4x32. This is cheap and fits onto this particular mount. Finally, all we have to do is add the suppressor. You again get the choice of either, so we're going to put that on. Again, with this, just make sure that it is under 6 kilograms. It is quite close, so make sure there's no ammo in the magazine. Make sure you take off the rear sight and also the rail if you need to. All right, final method. If you can't get to Jaeger 2 and you just can't buy the scope mount, there is an alternative. If you get to level 20, you are able to then get to Mechanic 2. He has a different barter at level 2, which is the OP SKS itself with weapon parts. Buy this, and it means we don't have to do any shenanigans with the OP SKS, which is quite good. From here, all we have to do is add a 20 rounder, add a suppressor, and again, we get the choice of 2 like we did previously, so we'll put on the Hexagon for the moment, and then we can add this thing again, the USP1 Tulpan 4 times from Prapor. And then that one works. Great. So there's 3 different ways of doing it. I'm going to go and hand this into the trader, and then we're going to be on to Gunsmith Part 5. Exciting.